Hey everybody, welcome to week, wait for it. I feel like, and the crowd cheers. Week 12, bum, bum, bum. And we are on guilt, dun, 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 dun. Okay, guilt. Let's talk about that for a minute. So one of the things I want to say about this particular fable, which is actually called the Fable of Saint Apricot, is the idea here is in this fable is that Apricot is a woman who basically over helps everyone. She basically makes it so that she gives from her reserve, not her excess. And right. So there's a saying that's give from your excess, not your reserve. And I think that what is happening here is she just runs out of steam. And basically, how often have we felt that way? That there may be people in our life that we give and give and give, or we overcommit to, and we feel guilty for saying no. We feel guilty when we stand up for ourselves. We feel guilty when we take care of ourselves sometimes. And it can be as simple as, you know what, I need 30 minutes to myself right now. But yet those 30 minutes are used as fretting. You know what I mean? You just sit there and go, oh, I feel so bad. So the interesting thing about the Fable of Saint Apricot as week 12 is that, forgive me again, you guys know, I yawn when I'm, you know, it's funny, it's like when I'm doing intuitive work, I yawn a lot. And when I'm talking about something I'm passionate about, my nose itches. So I don't know, maybe it's just all this other stuff. So the focus this week is I am sorry I have to take care of myself. And there's an interesting double thing going on there. Like, it's like almost apologizing to other people and at the same time saying, you know, like, I'm sorry I have to take care of myself, but also feeling guilty about taking care of ourselves. So there is kind of a double message in there. And the message of the week is the challenge of Saint Apricot is one of self-care. Now, if we look again, and I want to show you how well the artist did on this one. If you look closely, you could see that she's ironing, but she's got a chain there. She's chained to her routine, to her task. And in the background, there is someone who has a bottle in front of them. The implication is an alcoholic. It's kind of things that chain us down. And one of the things that Apricot is used to doing is she just keeps giving and giving to everybody. And the biggest thing here is that there's an agreement within families that can be implied that you're going to do this, and that's going to be what your task is. So I think that the idea in this particular week is to look at what has emotionally held us back. And guilt is an example of it, but it doesn't mean it's the only feeling that we experience when we're held back. So remember that this is the fourth card, so that reminds us that this falls in the heart chakra in terms of the 7th chakra, but it also, as the fourth fable, if you will, in the fourth position, it's green, it's that energy, and there's no green in here, it's orange, but it is that energy that happens around opening your heart and feeling guilt in your heart. And often this feeling comes when you feel that you're not being loving enough, and also not experiencing love. Sometimes, and I've seen this with some people, especially with this particular week, you may start to notice how much you are, in a sense, I want to say not loving yourself, but that kind of sounds a little cliche, but it's like not feeling like you can take care of yourself, feeling guilty if you do anything. And what will come up is that difference between the obligation of guilt and the feeling that if you do something for yourself, you feel guilt. So notice that there's an obligation of doing for others, and then there's a feeling as well. So when you read the fable, you're going to notice that the fable is really about, at the end, is really about Apricot saying no and how she stands for herself. But the thing that, the biggest thing that comes out of this is the overarching idea of fearing the disapproval of others. And in some ways, that's when we have to shut our heart down. You know, when people say to me a lot, oh, I want to protect myself. It's like what you're doing actually is you're shutting your heart down so you don't have a bad feeling. Because sometimes when others attack, and I'm going to use the word attack because we live in a time when on the internet people are attacking us. They're coming, you know, they're not polite. Manners is a thing of the past. So it can be very scary, and it can be something we just want to shut down from so that we stay safe. And remember also here, I think this particular week, because we are in our heart chakra, I want you to really notice also that whether or not you are willing to set an intention that is emotionally empowering for you. Now, one of the things I talk a lot about in, actually it's in this book, in the How to Read Cards for Yourself and Others, I talk about maturity and, emotional immaturity and emotional maturity. That becomes very important in the second chakra. And so here in the setting your intentions, it's talking about emotional maturity is our theme for the week. What will it take for us to be completely honest and to let others know what our needs are? Because sometimes we just we'll feel guilty or we'll be angry at somebody, and the reality is that we're angry, but we haven't spoken up. You know, I had a friend who was like, she wouldn't talk to me for 2 weeks, and she was like, well, you didn't do such and so. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you wanted me to. And she said, well, I waited for you to do it. And I was like, all you had to do was ask. I didn't know. And she went, oh. So sometimes, if I don't know, I can't do it. So we have to recognize that sometimes we may not be putting out there what we want. And that may have to do with some kind of disappointment that we felt now or felt in the past. So the big intention this week is to be truthful about your needs and about your willingness to do what others need as well. Now, just because now, you know, in this week, let me pull from this book right now. I just want to see what comes up for me when I'm going to look for this particular card, Princess of no, which one are we looking at? Sorry, my bad. Guilt. Okay. So I'm still in Princess of Amber. I don't know what that's about. It's like, oh, okay, it's this. No, it's not this. All right. So remember, as we talk about this as the fourth chakra energy, let's look at immaturity and maturity as it relates to, now what I'm doing, just so you know, is that this book is in black and white, and I chose black and white so the cost would be less and I can put a lot of meat in it, but also because you have the color of the cards. But here's some information, but the one that I want to share with you is on, and these are more pages of it. Okay, so immaturity. To achieve love or appreciation, you may be required to sacrifice who you are and become a hostage of hostile feelings. It is challenging to admit that hostages learn to take hostages, and they don't really make friends. Being stuck in an old idea of trying to gain others' approval keeps emotional immaturity alive. So this is really also about growing up. And then when we look at the maturity, same card, that was immaturity, now is maturity. When we no longer participate in relationships with a price tag, we can release emotional debt and create the possibility of real and heartfelt relationships showing up. Maturity means walking away, even if the old idea is alluring. So again, this is, I was just reading to you from How to Read the Cards for Yourself and Others. And one of the things that I think can happen is that, just so you know, the cards, obviously the cards in the little book came first. And then because the cards were based on these fables and based on the year-long journey of it, that's how this book came about. The deeper interpretations came about in the third book because there's so many layers to chakra that we had to go deeper and deeper. The only reason I'm sharing that with you is because when you're looking at your second chakra, it's going to be important to look at both sides of that coin. So I hope that makes sense to you, that you are going to be looking this week at mature and immature feelings. And remember that this is about releasing the bondage of our past and letting others in our future and present life off the hook. So I do encourage you to look at the color, the journal journey, and of course, the group activity. Also, take some time to do the solo activity this week. And I will see you next time for what week are we in? 13. Oh my goodness. I'll see you then.